This is a pretty big house from that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, it was considered upper middle class. The house itself is a little over 3,100 square feet. So it's a
That's
good sized
using upper
house.
middle class now.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live.
Yeah, really.
Mhm.
14, okay, I think we got everyone, right? All right, I noticed we got some youngsters in the group here. When you guys were in the visitor center, did they give you one of our free Abraham Lincoln medallions?
No.
You didn't get one? All right. I carried some with me, and these medallions only came out a couple of years ago, and they're really hard to come by. So if I give you one, will you promise me you'll take really good care of it and not lose it? All right. Okay, here's one for you. Here's one for you. Here's one for you. Here's one for you. Okay, you want one on the end there? Okay. All right, now don't lose it. They are hard to come by. All right, folks, these two rooms on this side of the house together made up what they call the bedroom suite. The room behind me was Mary Lincoln's bedroom, and the room you're in was Abraham Lincoln's bedroom. Now, back in Lincoln's time, having your own room was kind of a status symbol. Indicated to other people that you had enough money to have your own room. But Abraham Lincoln was kind of a workaholic, and he believed in that saying, never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And many a night, Mr. Lincoln would work really late at that very desk right behind you in the corner there. All Mary had to do to get a good night's rest was to go into her room and shut the door. Not a problem. These patterns you've been looking at in the wallpaper and the carpeting throughout the house, these patterns are reproductions of popular designs from the time of Lincoln. They're close to what the Lincolns had, but they're not exact, except for one item, and that's the wallpaper in each of these two rooms. This wallpaper here is an exact reproduction of the original. This is the pattern that Mary Lincoln picked out right here. So what do you think? Anybody have anything like this waiting for them when they get home?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah. Hear the word. Ooh, there you go. Now, Abraham Lincoln was a tall man. I think we all know that. He was 6'4". And a lot of people, when they look at this bed, they say, well, if Lincoln was that tall, then his feet must have hung off the end of the bed here. Well, that's not the case. First of all, this was not Lincoln's bed, but almost a twin to what he had. Now, this bed measures 6'9". And the reason it looks shorter than that is because of these large uprights on the corners here, and then look how tall the ceilings are. So the bed really kind of gets lost in this big old room. To give you a really good feel for how tall Lincoln was, right over here on the wall was his shaving mirror. And look how high it sits up there. Now, as I look around, this gentleman right here appears to be the tallest in it. How tall are you, sir?
6'5½".
6'5½". We'd have to raise it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
just that bit, yes.
But for the rest of us, well, as you go past the mirror there, just for fun, just kind of look up that way and try and imagine how much taller would you have to be just to be able to see your face in that mirror. And that's how tall Lincoln was. You guys are going to have to grow some to even come close here. 4'6". Oh, that's pretty tall. Okay. What do you? That's a special one.
Yeah,
We got that one in the guy's house that's on that corner there.
Children's bedroom.
As you said, you're right. When I travel in the summer, I write letters back in the woods to the
Okay. Let me get right in here. All right.
Oh, this is the.
All right, now out here in the hallway, you probably noticed a couple of closed doors. The one down at my end leads to all sons in this order. There was Robert, Eddie, Willie, and Tad. Now the three younger boys, Eddie, Willie, and Tad, they were all born in this house. One of those three died in this house, but not all four of them lived here at the same time. The night Lincoln was elected president, Robert, the oldest son, he was away at college. He was a 17-year-old Harvard freshman, and he went there to study law and become a lawyer, which he did. It was their second son, Eddie, that died in the house. And poor little Eddie, he died here just short of his 4th birthday from a lung disease that today we would call tuberculosis. And Eddie died before Willie and Tad were even born. The night Lincoln was elected president, Willie and Tad are sleeping in that very room right there. And they were 10 and 7 when they left here for the White House. Now down at the Lincoln Museum, they have another exhibit, and it shows where Willie died in the White House at the age of 11 from typhoid fever. And Tad, the youngest son, later died in Chicago at the age of 18 from pneumonia. Mrs. Lincoln not only lost a husband, she lost 3 of her 4 sons. Now Robert Lincoln lived to be almost 83. Robert had children and he had grandchildren. But the grandchildren never had any children of their own. And the last direct Lincoln descendant died in 1985. There are no more direct Lincoln descendants. The room at the end of the hallway on the left is the hired girls' room. Now the hired girl back then was usually a young teenage girl that lived in the house and helped out with the household chores. For this, she was paid maybe an average of $1.50 a week. Certainly not a lot of money by today's standards, but you know, back in Lincoln's time, that was a pretty decent wage. Plus, she got free room and board too. Well, folks, we saved the best room for last, so if you would kindly lead us downstairs. And again,
Where did they find the hired girl? Did they have a friend, or do you know?
and so, like I said, I'm sure the word got around that it was an opening.
I'm gonna step way back.
Okay, yeah, if you would, just right down there, then I'm going to be on the... Obviously, this is the kitchen. And what you see in front of you is pretty typical for an upper middle class family back in Lincoln's time. The wood burning stove that you see is the same stove that Mary Lincoln used to prepare some of the family meals. And it's said that later on in married life, she did become quite an excellent cook. Now, Abraham Lincoln grew up in several log cabins. And just to give you a feel for that, those log cabins were about the same size as the room you're standing in right now. Now, you can imagine some of the hardships the family must have went through, living for years at a time in a log cabin no bigger than this room. So this house was, without a doubt, a big step up for Mr. Lincoln. But you know what? His next house was even bigger and better. We call it the White House. Well, folks, that is our tour for today. We do want to thank you for stopping by and paying us a little visit.
I'll tell you a little bit about the backyard if you want.
Come here, Lolo.
Wait, and stay in the shade, please, so you can stay cool. Wait until everybody gets out here. That way everybody can hear if they want. Are you all the last in the group? All right. Great. Well, this is the Lincoln backyard, and it's the size of the original lot. So it was narrow and it was long. And at the back of the property was what these buildings represent is the carriage house, the barn, and of course the outhouse, which you can look at before you leave. They did have apple trees, but these are not the originals, and they had currant bushes. You know that because it was written down. We're not too sure about the garden, although we suspect they had a garden at some point, but we don't know because that was a common thing and they didn't write it down. People wouldn't be interested in gardens. The fencing is indicative of the period they did the high fencing because of the dogs and the pigs that ran wild in Springfield, and they got into your garden. They could root it out pretty well. Robert was bitten by a dog here, but thankfully the dog didn't have rabies. There's two pumps. The one on the right is a dug well for drinking water, and the one on the left was the cistern. Correct? It's still there, but it doesn't work. The guttering is just to gather the rainwater, which goes into the cistern and is pumped out. Here on here. And so if you have any questions, I'll try to answer those. I know it's warm. Otherwise, you're welcome to check out the outhouse. And then my friend Gabby has a survey she'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. These are the annual park surveys for Lincoln National. Very high heat events or impacts. They say it gets up to, about 110 degrees or so. So make sure that you're drinking a lot of water and you're staying cool too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're welcome.
What's that, buddy?
Think I can answer them. It's disgusting.
Think it'd been fun to go to the bathroom in the wintertime? Yeah. Like you, Lolo. Would have been fun to go to the bathroom in the wintertime?
No. We'd have to go to the outhouse every day now.
Yeah, that's right.
Have it had lunch.
Right.
No, I mean, this is like, gee, what are you doing? That's amazing.
How are you?
Good.
Don't really feel too good about carrying the bag here. People know it's not a man bag too. Hey Lauren, how come you don't want to be in the Civil War for?
Because they don't have pink uniforms.
You don't have pink uniforms? But if they did, would you want to be in the Civil War?
No.
Not really? Okay.
Great. Do that again. Look at mommy.